you.
Okay, I will do that. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
All right, thank you so much. I enjoyed the last class. I think you guys did quite well, even though it looks like differentiating marketing and sales could be a very huge task to do because they are like brothers and sisters. Well done to the last speaker. You guys were very interactive in that class, so you're going to have to promise me that you do the same for my class. Is that a deal? Do I have a deal? Is anyone in the room? Uh-oh.
Yes, we have a deal.
All right, okay, I can see. Okay, okay, you guys are muted. Oh wow. Now that's something. Okay, let me see. Let me
I've unmuted them so they can talk.
all right, please, I need feedback. I do crave feedback a lot. All right, okay, I can see the chat box. So if you cannot talk, let's talk in the chat box. Like I like to do, I like to know who I'm talking to. So we'll do a very simple meet and mingle right now. So what you would do for me is you would grab your Twitter URL and send it into the chat box. I want to know what you do. So let me see your Twitter URL, what your name is, and what you do. Right. So let's do 5 minutes meet and mingle. I'll send my own URL. I think you can see my screen. Right. So my URL on Twitter is this Diola Self. You will know what I do quite later. But I'm a pharmacist. And then I'm into marketing, Web3 marketing, Web2 marketing, whichever one works. Right. So I want to meet you. All right. Tife 06, what do you do? I know you, Joyce. No worry yourself. Isong official. So you guys are sending in your. All right. So I want to know what you do. Thank you so much. Content creator, Joe Dinma. Nice to meet you. All right. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Oladele Fisayo. I know you're Ogozi Precious now. I met you at Web3 Lagos. All right. Nice to meet you. Who else is here? Tife 06 Web3. Please, I want to know what you do. You didn't put that there. You're a digital marketer. Nice to meet you. Adetutu. So I followed you. Followed all of you. Dima Joel. Nice to meet you. Followed you as well. Who else is there? I think I follow Precious already. Sugar, I know you now. I know you. Isong official. Nice to meet you. Isong official, you didn't tell me what you do. We have 3 minutes for meet and greet. Fisi OT, you didn't write what you do, right? But nice to meet you all the same. My presentation today is going to be very short and concise. Hopefully, we have a great time. Okay, so what else is here? You write threads for projects, trade features, Web3 marketer in view. Great. Lovett, you're a pharmacy student. I would love to meet you. Please send in your Twitter URL. I'm a pharmacist, right? So let's talk. Real 9 NFT. I guess you're an NFT influencer. Nice to meet you as well. Okay, we have 3 minutes. All right. I think that is all. Great to have you. So great to have you guys. Can we go in? Okay, we have one more person here. Adetutu, Web3 treasurer. All right. So I can see that you guys are Web3 natives here. Is that correct? You guys are all Web3 natives. There's no Web3 beginner. Is there any Web3 beginner in this group? I want to be sure. All right, Lovett is a beginner. All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. That will be all for meet and greets. Okay, we have Tycoon Prime Star. Tycoon Prime Star, recruiter, crypto trader. Nice to see, nice to see. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Well done. What a community you guys have here. Well done to the organizers. Joy, well done. Nice to meet you, Tycoon Prime Star. Yes, followed you. And please, you guys, please do follow everyone in the chat box. Right, just go ahead, follow everyone that you see. Let's have a nice time. Thank you so much. I would love you guys to unmute your mics because I want this to be very interactive. But if you can respond via the chat box, that's okay as well. That's very much okay. All right, Web3 marketer, content marketer, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, I think I have a minute. I think I have a minute. Is there anyone else? Faith Raymond, you did not write what you do, but nice to meet you all the same. Hopefully we'll be able to talk one-on-one in more details, right? So I think that is all I can take right now. So if you're just coming in, you can send in your Twitter URL into the chat box. I'll get it. I'll fetch it much later. It's time to go into business. Okay, so can you guys see my screen?
Yes, yes, we can.
What do I have on my screen?
You have. Why am I the one talking? Please, you guys should take over.
What do I have on my screen, please? I want to be sure.
Means Amingo.
Great, great. Thank you. Right, so someone asked who I am. So this is a little introduction. I went to pharmacy school. That's a short introduction. I gained admission sometimes in 2011, and I went to pharmacy school, and I came out sometimes in 2017, and that was all that for pharmacy. And then when I was done with pharmacy school, I decided I didn't want to practice pharmacy because I didn't like the repetitive nature of the profession. You know, you just sit down somewhere in the pharmacy and you start to advise patients, take paracetamol one morning, one night. I felt like I had more to offer my generation than being a pharmacist. So I went to learn Python. I started learning how to build websites with Django. And after a couple of months, I learned data science. So I became a data scientist. And during my NYSC, I did my NYSC at FCMB in corporate banking analytics. After leaving corporate banking analytics, I had a little experience where after submitting reports to a department called CRM, we were told to, you know, recommend messaging. So we're doing win-back campaigns, right? So we're told to recommend messaging to the customers. And so that pricks my wanting to learn more. So I went to learn copywriting. And then copywriting led me into marketing. And then marketing led me into Web3 marketing. And then right now, I lead the team at Veil Marketing. And we are developing storytelling for Web3. We believe that Web3 folks are too money conscious. You guys are too buy my product conscious. No one is telling stories. No one is creating an emotional connections with the Web3 audience. So that's what we're solving at Veil Marketing. So my delivery today is for 3 types of people, right? So you're here. What you want to do is you want to become a thought leader in your niche. There are a lot of Web3 marketers here, a couple of community managers here, a couple of content marketers here. If what you want to be is a thought leader where you are, this presentation is for you. You're a Web3 marketer, so there are a couple of you here Web3 marketers, right? So you want to become a Web3 marketer and you want to be great at it. This is for you as well. So you have some other skills. Say you're a designer, you're a front-end developer, you're a back-end developer, you're a smart contract engineer. You want to market your skill. You want people to know you for what you do. So you want to understand marketing so that you can stand out at excuse me, at your non-marketing related skill, my delivery as well is for you, right? Does anyone fall out of this category? Is there anyone that is not part of this category? You guys are dulling my class, so I want more participation. Okay, so I'll just take the silence as no, right? So at the end of our time together, you would have learned the difference between Web2 marketing and Web3 marketing. If you didn't do Web2 marketing, because at the time I left the bank, I started to do copywriting. So I started to write sales funnels for companies. I started to write Facebook ads, landing pages, email copywriting, and all of that. Did someone say something? Okay, great. Right, so if you've not done Web2 marketing, is someone saying something? Okay, great. So if you've not done any Web2 marketing, well, you know what we had before Web3 came in, right? So you know the difference. You would understand what makes Web3 Web3, right? There's what makes Web3 Web3. Host, please, can you unmute them, please? I beg you. Can you unmute them? And please, you guys, if you're not talking, please mute your mic. You guys should please make the work easier for the host.
Yeah, they are on mute.
All right, thank you.
Just unmute.
All right, thank you so much. Back to my slide. Right, so you're going to understand what makes Web3 Web3. And the crux of my presentation is how you can become inevitable within the Web3 ecosystem, right? So you know the difference between Web2 and Web3. And I was in the class on Monday, right? So trying to flog Web3. Come again? Okay, so if you have a question, let's do it this way. If you have a question, please ask your question in the chat box. I'll pick your questions there and I will answer it, right? So we've overflogged tokenization. I was in the class where you're being taught tokenization, decentralization, you know, all of the scalability, Web3, blah, 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 blah. In Web2, we had little community-driven marketing, right? I find a lot of Web3 marketers saying that there was no community marketing in Web3. That's not true, right? Because we have companies like Starbucks, companies like Sephora, who grew into billions of dollars through community marketing. So there was a lot of community marketing in Web2, but the level of influence and engagement was determined by the brand or by the company. Enter Web3, where we have things like DAO, where brands now involve customers and fans in decision-making process, and then they incentivize participation through tokenomics, right? Another thing that makes Web3 different is smart contract and transparency. So in Web2, there was centralization, right? And you couldn't really audit a Web2 company, right? They control data and they had power to manipulate data. But enter Web3, where we have smart contracts that runs on decentralized blockchains, ensuring transparency. So you know all of these jargons. My intention today is not to come and teach you how Web3 is revolutionizing marketing, because you know it, right? The third one is ownership and control of data, right? So you know that users had limited control to data in Web2, and then enter Web3, where we have blockchain technology allowing individuals to have control over their data. We have NFTs, you can store your private keys, talk about seed phrases, you know all of that jargons, right? So that's not my intention. My intention today is to tell you what changed, right? What changed is that the Web3 population is a very low trust population. We are very low on trust, right? So if you're going to do marketing in Web3, or if you're going to market yourself to Web3 audience, you are going to need to win their trust, unlike Web2, that is very high trust, right? So the population of the internet right now is like 2% Web3 and 98% Web2. And you wonder why that is. Right? But my intention today is not to go into that. It's just to let you know that the Web3 population is a very low trust population. That's why we do three things, right? In Web2, we used to do paid ads. We do Facebook ads. I cannot count the number of Facebook ads I've written in my life. or funnels that I've written in my life. But in Web3, we partner with influencers and key opinion leaders as a way to gain visibility for our project. We also do token incentivization for rewarding participation. And obviously, in Web3, we start a community, we start marketing so that the community can take over marketing, right? So you start to do marketing so that other people can do the marketing for you. So that is 3 things that low trust allows us to do in Web3. So I like to start by key takeaways because I know that you're stressed. This is almost 9. And once I move on to the next slide, you're going to forget what I've said previously. So I like to start my key takeaways. And the first takeaway from my class today is that Web3 is a very low trust population. So if you're going to market yourself to Web3 folks, you need to win their trust. And in marketing, we do that by event marketing, giving them tokens and community participation. But what makes Web3 special? This is the I want someone to answer this question. What makes Web3 special? What makes it different from Web2? I'll be looking in the chat box just in case.
I think that it is, I don't know, to be honest. I think 2 things in my opinion. Number 1 is, obviously the technology, decentralization, blockchain. That's one of the things that makes it special. Like the tech is just different. And I think number 2 is the behavior, like the culture of those that use it. So I just have this idea that there's a Web3 culture. There's a way that people talk. There's a way that people interact with one another. There's an expectation of how you will present yourself to them as a brand. So yeah, I think those are the 2 things that stand out for me as difference. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much. Anyone else? So someone says decentralization, data is controlled by the user, security. I mentioned that. Thank you so much. eSongs official says decentralization and scalability. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Keep it coming. Ownership, decentralization, beautiful stuff. Yes, we've touched on all of that. But in my opinion, what makes Web3 special is just a word. Web3 is inevitable. So talk about decentralization, talk about scalability, talk about security, talk about tokenomics, talk about ownership of data. All of that can be grouped into one word, inevitable. Right? So Web3 is going nowhere. Web3 is going nowhere. And Web3's inevitability is the reason why you are in this class. Is the reason why you want to learn Web3 marketing. Is the reason why you want to market yourself to Web3 folks, right? Because Web3 is inevitable. And of course, you've watched Avengers. Thanos says you could not live with your own failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me. But the question is that Web3 marketing is not as important as the person marketing Web3, right? So if Web3 is inevitable, my question to you today is, what about you? So I've not come here today to teach you because I figured out that you probably know everything I want to teach you, but I've come here today to provoke you, right? I've come here today to upset you. And I've come here today to give you a little bit more light, right? So if Web3 is inevitable, the question is, what about you? Are you inevitable? Are people looking at you? Ashake said, I just blow, they want to tear my shirt. Are they wanting to tear your shirt? Are people looking for your service? Are you inevitable, right? That's the crux of my presentation today. And I'm asking you, what do you really want? What do you want? Right? What do you want from this lecture? What do you want from life? What do you want from the internet? What do you want from Web3? Well, great, right? So the question is, what do you really want? On a scale of inevitable to ordinary to disposable, where do you want to be? I mean, it's okay if you want to be ordinary. I know people who want to live ordinary lives. It's okay if you want to be ordinary, right? So on a scale of inevitable to ordinary to disposable, where do you want to be? So these are questions that you need to think about, you need to ponder about, and I won't mind if I have your answers. Finally, you want to be well valued. Great. That means you want to be inevitable. You are the first proof of your marketing capacity. So again, this speaks to what I've said earlier, that Web3 marketing is not what's important, right? Web3 being inevitable, decentralization, scalability, security, ownership, trust is not what is important. You is what is important, right? Are you inevitable? What do you know? What do you have? Right? If I teach you what to do, would you do it? I need answers to this question. If you've answered my question, asked on the scale of inevitable to ordinary to disposable, where do you want to be? And you chose inevitable. If I teach you what to do, would you do it? I don't have enough answers in the chat box. Maybe you're not interested and we should end the entire presentation and we call it a day, because at the end of the day, I've already shown you how Web3 is decentralizing or revolutionizing marketing, right? So maybe we should call it a day. So if your goal is to be like Thanos, right? I am inevitable. What do you do? Right, thank you. Right, so you know, Thanos had how many infinity stones? For those of you who have watched Avengers, how many infinity stones does he have? Right, you could not watch Avengers. It's only African Magic Yoruba people used to watch. Lol, 5. Great, thank you so much. So Thanos had 5 infinity stones. So I want to fetch 5 infinity stones for you today. That will make you inevitable in the inevitable Web3 ecosystem. Are you ready? Right. So I have 5 infinity stones for you. And the first infinity stone is to understand the system. Now you need to unmute your mic, because this first infinity stone is the one that you would rarely understand. This is where people rarely understand that. I want to spend some time here, right? So I'll need you to unmute your mics. The first infinity stone is for you to understand the system. Now, what is the system? Right? This system is built on 4 things. The system is built on 4 things. It's built on code, it's built on products, it's built on distribution, and it's built on content. Right? So I tried to find a proper diagram to fit this into, but I couldn't find. So the content is like the foundation of the entire system, right? And then distribution comes on top of content, and then product comes on top of distribution, and then code comes on top of product. So what is code? You know what code is. Let's not go into that, right? So you've learned JavaScript, you've learned Python, you've learned Solidity, you built a Web2 startup, you built a Web3 startup, right? So code is, in my opinion, using automation to solve a problem, right? Using code, using automation to solve a problem. But product, distribution, and content is where you guys have issues, right? So when you solve a problem without automation, that's a product. So you could have a physical product, you could have a digital product, you could have a course, right? You could have a financial product, you could have so many other products. So solving problems with automation is where you have code. Solving problems without automation is where you have products, right? But what is distribution? Distribution is access to people under influence, right? Access to people under influence. And I will explain distribution right now. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right. Someone should read what's on my screen. Anyone? Anyone? Muted again. Oh, please now.
Brand manager, we write the whole strategy, go collect 300K salary. While influencer, we then bring to just do one video, go collect 3 million. Campaign finish, influencer enter a hotel, lodge for 2 nights to cool off. Brand manager enter boat to his house in Ikorodu. Life no balance.
Who understands this? This guy is, well, who understands this? Who understands why? Well, it's funny, right? It's funny, and it seems like life actually no balance, but that's not true. Life actually balance is you that doesn't understand the system. I know, right? It's sad, right? But you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. So this guy is sitting somewhere here. He's sitting somewhere here. He's sitting in product. You're a brand manager. This is where you're sitting. But this is where the influencers sit. They sit in distribution. And you see, the world is getting more automated, right? There's ChatGPT now, there's AI, right? AI can build code for you. AI can build products for you. That brand strategy that he's talking about, AI might not be at it right now, but give it 5 years, right? So I want to provoke you today. I want you to figure out where you want to sit down inside this system. So my first infinity stone is understand the system. And there are 4 things that build the system: code, product, distribution, and content. My intention is to explain code. My intention is to explain products. My intention is to explain distribution. And my intention is to explain content. But it's your duty to figure out where you want to sit inside of this. So think, do you want to sit with code? Do you want to sit with products? Do you want to sit with distribution? And do you want to sit with content? Personally, I want to sit everywhere. I'm trying to hack all 4. But not everyone has my time. Not everyone has brand manager and an employee. Well, fair enough, right? Not everyone can sit in all 4 places. You have to figure out where you want to sit, right? Again, code is using automation to solve a problem. Product is housing a solution without automation. Access to people that use. So that answer where it sits is distribution and content. So you use content to house his audience, and then it gets money because it has distribution. And then content is the bedrock of the entire system. That's why content is the foundation of the system, because if you are building code, you use content to distribute your stuff. If you are building products, you will still use content. If you are building distribution, you still need content, right? Because you might not understand how this works, I decided to use this as an example of how I would play in this system, right? So at the bedrock of the entire system is content. Someone says, okay, we'll find that later. Let me see if it's closed. Okay, it's not closed. Okay, we'll find that later. So personally, I would first figure out content, right? And then after figuring out content, I'll figure out my own distribution. So distribution could be 100,000 followers on Twitter. Distribution could be 10,000 email newsletter readers. Distribution could be 5K subscribers on YouTube. It could be anything, right? That's why I call distribution access to people under influence, people who you can influence, people who receive stuff from you every day, every week. That's your distribution. So if I figure out content, I would figure out distribution, and then I can decide to figure out either code or product. So once I have content and I have people who listen to my content, I can build a product for them and they will buy it. I can build a startup that solves their problem and they will use it and pay me money. So that's the flow from content to distribution to code and products, right? So life actually balance. It's not true that life no balance, but you are the one that does not understand the system. Does that make sense? Do we have our first infinity stone? Anyone? Does anyone have a problem with code, content, distribution? Because most times this is very hard for people to understand. Anyone has a question? Who's on mute tonight again? Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. If you have any question, just stop me. So key takeaways now. We've explained difference between Web 2 and Web 3 marketing for people just joining us. 2 people just joined. And we said that the Web 3 population is a very low trust population, right? So before you can market yourself to Web 3 guys, you have to earn their trust. So for that reason, our marketing operations moved from paid ads in Web 2 to event marketing in Web 3. And then we introduced token incentivization in Web 3, and then community participation is the hallmark of Web 3 marketing. And so I've taught you the first infinity stone. I'm so sorry. I don't know if it's my network. I'm so sorry. I've taught you the first infinity stone, which is for you to understand the system, understand code, understand product, understand distribution, understand content, and figure out where you want. Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, great. So let's get our second infinity stone now. The second infinity stone is a question, is what's your offer? Like I said, I've come here to provoke you. What are you offering your generation? What are you offering Web3? What can you do? What can you do for us that is special, that we really need? Right? So once you understand, you know what code is, you know what distribution is, you figured out where you want to play inside the system. Next question you need to ask yourself is, what is your offer? So what problems do people really have that you can help them solve? So for me, Web3 companies are not telling a lot of stories. And that's the reason why Web3 has a very huge retention problem, right? So it's a lot of airdrops and a lot of incentives and a lot of, you know, get this, get that for coming into our community. Web3 guys are not telling a lot of stories. We are not creating an emotional connection, right? There's no Apple in Web3 today. There's no Samsung, there's no Nike, there's no Adidas, there's no company that is really creating that emotional connection. Everyone is just wanting to make money off each other, right? And that's the problem that I found that I want to solve. Now, what is your offer? Right? Once you find an offer, very deep problem within your skill set or even outside of your skill sets that you want to solve for Web3 or for Web2 or for whoever, then you found your second infinity stone. Right, so let's start our key takeaways once again. So we've said that Web3 is a low trust population, and so we do event marketing, tokenizations, and community participation. I've told you that the first infinity stone is for you to understand the system. So understand how to build code, understand how to build products that solves the problem, understand distribution, like like the brand marketer didn't, and then understand content. Figure out where you want to play. And then I've said, what's your offer? That's the second infinity stone. So you want to find a problem that people have and solve it. And the thing is, the larger the population or the larger the leverage, the bigger the pile. What I mean by the larger the leverage is that you find a problem that a lot of people have, right? Or you find a problem that a few people have, but they are willing to pay big money for. That's what I mean by the larger the leverage, then the bigger the pile, right? So let's go for our third infinity stone now, is to generate content. So we talked about content, and at the end of the day, content is the bedrock of everything you want to do on the internet. If you cannot figure out content, then you are actually dead on the internet. Because the person, I was watching a YouTube video of Alex Amosi, and he was saying the person who can generate the most content would win in this generation, right? So the third infinity stone is generate content. I have a thought leader who I listen to. His name is Danko, and he says, while code is the back end of the internet, content is the front end of the internet, right? So look at the layers of the internet. We had computers, we had networks, we had www, we had browsers, we had search engines, and right now we have content, right? So my advice, figure out short form video content, figure out medium form text content, and figure out long form audio content, just because there are different content consumers. So there are video consumers, text consumers, audio consumers. You want to find your audience everywhere they are and give them content in the way that they can receive it and then distribute it everywhere. So you can see that the system is interlinked. Code, content, distribution are interlinked. Once you create content, you need to distribute it, right? And once we do that, we found our third infinity stone, right? Who can remind me the first infinity stone without looking at the slide? First infinity stone.
Understand the system.
Brilliant. Second infinity stone. Second infinity stone.
What's your offer?
Brilliant. Third infinity stone.
Create content.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Right. So to go over it again, low trust population, we talked about that. We talked about the system. We talked about your offer. What are you offering your generation? What can you offer me? What can you offer Web3? And once you figure out where you want to play in the system, what your offer is, then you start to generate content based on your offer. So that's our third infinity stone. Let's go to our fourth infinity stone. So it gets less technical from here. And that is sharpen the axe. So what's the axe? How many of you are Christians? How many of you are not Christians here? If you are a Muslim, please forgive me. If you're a Muslim, please forgive me. But I like a part of the Bible. There's a book in the Bible that I love so much, and the book is called Ecclesiastes. I love to read it at least once in 6 months because it brings me back to base. And there's this part of Ecclesiastes that says that if the iron be blunt and you do not whet the edge, then must it put more strength, because wisdom is profitable to direct. So what Solomon is telling us is that you can cut anything with a blunt knife, right? You guys, well, this is 95% female population, so you guys are always in the kitchen, right? You guys you've cut something with a blunt knife before. Am I wrong? And you know how hard it is. It will still cut, right? No worry, it will still cut, but you have to put more strength into it. Unlike when it's a sharp knife, it goes in seamlessly. That's what I'm saying by sharpen the axe. So what axe are we sharpening, right? Your skill sets. On your way to inevitability, there are certain skills that you must know. So you must know how to write. You must know persuasion. You must. So forgive me, but I was at the last class and I saw her tell you guys to write sales copies. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. But your sales copies were not too brilliant. I know you are beginners, right? You guys are beginners, but you need to go and learn how to write sales copies. You need to go and learn how to write to sell. There's something called copywriting. There are free copywriting books online. There are cheap copywriting courses online. Take it. I understand it was impromptu. That I'm not blaming you, but you need to learn how to write. You need to learn how to speak in public. If you can write and you can speak, you will be inevitable in this generation. Because not everyone is going to be able to learn how to code. Plus, there's AI that is disrupting the software development industry. You need to learn persuasion. You need to learn consumer psychology, and you need to learn how to do market research. Market research is where you know the problems that people have and how you can go about solving it. I have an entire class on market research, an entire 3-4 hour class on market research, right? So you need to learn how to do these things, sharpen your edge. And then you are great. That's our fourth infinity stone. So going over it, I'm almost done. We've talked about being low trust. So we've talked about event marketing and all of that. We've talked about the system, understanding code, product, distribution, content, and figuring out where you want to play inside of the system. We've talked about what your offer is. So you need to find an offer. You need to find a problem that people have, and then find a way to solve it for them. Like I've told you, my offer is storytelling in Web3, right? So I'm offering Web3 companies storytelling and how to forge an emotional connection between them and their customers. You need to find out how to generate content based on your offer. Then you need to sharpen your edge, right? If you generate content from now till next year, if you don't know how to write, you don't know how to speak, you're going to have yourself to blame. And the last infinity stone is to show up. So now you figured out the system. You know where you want to play. Say, okay, I want to play in distribution. I want to become an influencer. I want to become a key opinion leader in DeFi. That's where you want to play. You figured out your offer. So let's say in DeFi, people are poor traders at, say, what do you call this trading now? Spot trading. You don't teach them spot trading. That's your offer. Then you generate content based on spot trading. Find content. There's content on the internet, right? After generating content, you sharpen your action. Now you know how to write. You can write threads that would engage people. You can speak. You can do video form, long video form videos that would engage people. You sharpen your action. You understand consumer psychology. You understand what makes people engage. The last infinity stone is for you to show up and be consistent. If you can understand this framework and act on it, you've already promised me that you're going to do it, right? And then you're on your way to being inevitable. So finally, we've talked about being low trust. Web3 is a very low trust population. And that's the reason why you need to generate content, because they need to see your content before they trust you. Right? So that's why we do events. We partner with influencers to do events, to bring people into our communities. We give our customers tokens and we make them engage in the community. And then I moved on to talking about the first infinity stone, which is the system. So you understand code, you understand products, you understand distribution, understand content, figure out where you want to play inside this system, right? And then find your offer, right? Find your offer. You have to learn how to do market research. Market research is going to help you find your offer. Then you need to talk to people inside your niche, right? After you've done that, you generate content, sharpen your ask, learn how to talk, learn how to write, learn market research, learn consumer psychology, learn as much, increase your backend, be deep, right? And then finally show up and be consistent. I like this proverb. It says, let the young man in his deprivation go hunt the elephant. If he kills it, his poverty will cease. If it kills him, his poverty will cease. So I'm saying to you this evening that let the young woman listening to me right now in a deprivation, because I know all of you are not where you want to be. That's why you're here, right? So let the young woman in a deprivation go hunt the elephant. If he kills it, if she kills it, her poverty will cease. If it kills her, fair enough, her poverty will cease as well. But what's the elephant? I don't want to waste time. The elephant is your incompetence. So go ahead and fight your incompetence. If you meet my mom today, there was something happened in 2020 when I was doing affiliate marketing. So I got paid $1,400 and then I used $800 to buy a course. So every time she meets my friend, she's always telling tell Diola to stop buying courses. I'm always buying knowledge, buying courses every time. Because I'm hunting the elephant. Poverty runs in my family and I want to end it, right? So you need to hunt your elephant. If you kill it, your poverty will cease. If it kills you, your poverty will cease. But I hope you kill the elephant. That will be the end of my presentation today. Please, I'd like to take questions now.
Thank you so much, Deola. We learned so much. I learned so much. So if you have questions, kindly unmute your mic and ask your questions. But my key takeaway from this session is fight your incompetence. As in, I think even if we don't have any other session outside of this class, I think we have wrapped up the bootcamp really, because this is like a summary of everything. You showed us how to understand the system. Like, I think that's really clarified a lot of things for me. So if you have questions, kindly go ahead. I mean, this is your chance to do that so that we can round up. Time's ready.
And everything there is to code, everything there is to content, because that's why I get a lot of my questions. Everything there is to distribution, and everything there is to content, your products. You understand everything there is to it. Please ask me questions.
Okay, I think I would like to ask a question about distribution.
Okay.
So can you like just touch on that, what it really entails?
In my opinion, distribution is the most important part of the system. The reason I've talked about AI can help you come up with code in 1 hour. Like, there's a video on the internet where ChatGPT-4 built an entire software, front end and back end, right? If you understand the programming languages, AI can come up with code for you. If you understand prompt engineering, AI can come up with products for you, whether it's a digital product or it's a software product or it's a financial product, AI can do that for you. If you understand how to do prompt engineering as well, AI can come up with, so let me go back to that slide. AI can come up with code, come up with products, and come up with content. But you see, this distribution is what every human being would need, is what every company would need. Because at the end of the day, once you have your code, you have your product, you have content, you need people. You need people to use your product. You need people to buy your products. You need people to log into your software. You need people to read your content. So distribution is where you house people. Like I've explained that distribution is 10,000, 100,000 Twitter followers, people who listen to you, people who read your content. Distribution is 10K email newsletter for readers, right? It could be 15K YouTube followers. It could be 5,000 people in your Telegram group. Just a place where you house people, where you give them your content and you have influence over them. That's distribution.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Because sometimes when we're trying to put out things that we are doing, it's like it's not reaching as much people as we want to. So that really puts it and gives it more light. Thank you for that. So
The previous speaker talked about partnerships.
yes.
The problem you are solving in partnerships is a distribution problem, because you just launch your startup, you have 0 customers, and there's this startup that is offering a complementary product and they have 10,000 customers. That's distribution. So if you partner with them and let's say at the end of the day you're able to get 3,000 signups from that partnership, what you've just done is that you've gotten their distribution. Distribution is where people are. That's all. So a lot of fintech companies, when they come online, they try to partner with banks because banks have the distribution that they're looking for. So distribution is where there's a pool of people under influence. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone, or if anyone has any question.
It totally makes sense to me.
All right, thank you.
I have another question. You talked about when you talked about understanding the system, you said code, products, distribution, and content, and that you are everywhere. So where would you and you said everyone can be everywhere. So where would you advise that we can start from? Like, okay, let's just say building our capacity and everything. Like, where would you advise that we should stay and that really be like favorable or something?
My advice to you is to figure out content first. Right? So when we talked about the second infinity stone, I said, what's your offer? My advice to you is to find your offer. Once you found your offer, figure out content first. Right? So figuring out content, for example, let's say you want to teach spot trading to DeFi traders, come up with 200, 300, 500 different topics on spot trading. That's your content. You can decide to make it an audio content or a video content or a text content or a thread or a reel on Instagram. Come up with your content first. If I were you, after finding my offer, I would first figure out content. Now, once I've figured out content, I will then figure out distribution. Right? Distribution is where human beings play. I've told you AI can play in content, code, and product. Distribution is solely where human beings play. So if I were you, after figuring out content, I'll figure out distribution. Number one, I want to have my own distribution. So I want to have a place where people read my content, right? So I have a newsletter where people read my content, right? After figuring out distribution, then you can decide if you want to. When you are interacting with people in your distribution, you will find out the problems that they have, right? So you can decide, for example, spot trading for DeFi traders. You can decide to build a DeFi spot trading course. That's a product. You can decide to build a spot trading application. Say it's an on-chain product for people to know when the whales are selling and buying. You can decide to build a product based on your distribution. So once again, in the spot trading explanation, I found my offer, right? I want to teach spot trading. 99% of people on the internet don't understand spot trading. So I want to teach spot trading. That's my offer. Then I developed content. Say I like to develop at least 500 different topics on spot trading, right? After developing my content, I'll figure out distribution. Do I want my distribution to be in my email? Do I want to have a Telegram group where I host people? Do I want to be on Twitter? Figure out where you want your distribution to be, right? Once you load these guys with your content, what you find is that they start to aggravate towards you. They start to trust you a little more. That's what content does. Once you have a lot of free content, people look at you like, okay, I say this person knows what's in the talk, right? So they come into your distribution. And then once they're into your distribution, you can decide if you want to build a product for them. It could be a course, right? Or if you want to build a software. That's how I would look at the system. So you asked if I have a book or a newsletter. Yes, I do. So if you go to my Twitter handle, you will see my lead magnet. So just click on the lead magnet. You'll get the book I wrote on Web3 marketing, and then you get further emails from me. That's to answer your question. So does anyone have any other question? Any questions, please?
My final question, I think this class was for me anyways, because it seems like I'm the only one who has questions. But my final question will be, can you share more light on how to do research, right? How to do market research for the things that we want to put out?
So market research is a lot to touch on. Well, let me see how I would frame it up for you based on my presentation. So let me see. Let me go back there. So I said, let me start from what's your offer, right? So you want to look at, you want to start where you are. So you're a community manager. You're a community manager in Web3. What is the problem people have with community in Web3? That's usually the first question with market research, right? What's the problem people have? People are unable to manage communities. Why are they unable to manage communities? People have problems with community engagement. Why is that? Is it because of the community managers are not skilled enough? Is it because the audience are hard to please, right? You need to figure out why people, you need to figure out the problem that exists in your space, and then why that problem exists. Now, there are sometimes you would find problems in your space and you won't find a lot of problems. Then go out of your space. Go out of Web3. Must you die in Web3? Must you die in marketing? If there are not problems in your niche or in your space, then go out of it. There are problems everywhere in the world, right? So you need to find a problem and find why people have the problem. You speak to people who have that problem and ask them how they feel about the problem. That's the beginning of market research. But there are different types of market research. So, for example, you can look at a company, like say Binance. Let's say you want to build a DEX, right? So something we call competitor research. People start their market research from competitor research, right? People start their market research from problem research and people research. So there are different ways to look at competitor market research. But the first problem in market research is, where are the problems? Who have these problems and why do they have these problems? That's the most basic way I can teach you market research. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much. I would follow up from there and do more research on my own. Thank you very much, Adela.
All right, thank you guys. It was nice listening to you, even if you guys doubted me a little, but it's understandable. Thank you so much. Have a nice day, guys. Have a nice.
Thank you for coming.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you. We really appreciate you.
Thank God. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so we have had a nice time learning, and thank you all for staying till this late. So we are calling it a night at this point. We have our next session on Friday. The other activities that we have to do will be communicated in the group chats. So thank you all for staying. Hope you took notes. After now, if you're not too tired, you can go online, share what you learned, and tag us. We'll drop the instructions on the group chat. Tag us on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on any social platform you belong, and just share what you've learned from tonight's class. Further information will be communicated in the group. So have a lovely night rest. See you on Friday, bright and early. Good night.
Good night. Thank you for the class.